All right, let's get it rolling. Welcome to the Krug Show on a Sunday night. Welcome to the month of February. The Niners have hired themselves a defensive coordinator. It is Raheem Morris. What does it all mean? Share some insights. Give me something, damn it. All right, we got a lot to get to. Join us. It's the Krug Show, the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show. Super Bowl week is here, with or without the Niners. Sadly, without. Let's go. Off and running on the Krug Show on a Sunday night. Stretching a little bit. Hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. Their football-less weekend. We did get a little Senior Bowl on Saturday. How good does that ASU tackle look? Oh, my God. We got a lot to get to. It's the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're soon to open in 2026 in Petaluma. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Also, thanks to Claudette Arcades, who sent us to Philly for the playoff run. He believed. We believed. We had no reason to believe, but we did believe. Thanks to Claudette Arcades. We were in Philadelphia, and he's got 7 locations, including Capitola Mall. He's a great follow on the gram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. Big thanks to Claudette Arcades. Also, thanks to Sleeper. They've been with us all year long. The link's in the description. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Use promo code Larry. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. So we are off and running. Sunday night. Hope everybody enjoyed the day. What did I do with my footballless day? Well, woke up. You know, it's not a busy day when you include waking up. You know, it's like, what'd you do today? Well, I woke up. That means you didn't do a whole lot. And if you threw I woke up in there, then you're filler. It's like filler. What'd you do today? Well, I woke up. All right. Congrats for waking up. But I did wake up, and I had breakfast. How about that? No, I played threw the lacrosse ball around with my youngest boy today. It was a good time. He's playing lacrosse for the first time ever. I played in high school, played in college, and so I decided let's go throw it around a little bit. So it was a beautiful day in Northern California. I know it's freezing everywhere, but in Northern California, especially here in the East Bay, man, it was 65, sunny. Oh, it's beautiful, glorious. And after being in Philadelphia, after seeing my sister dig her backyard out in Farmington, Connecticut, oh my God, I know why I'm in Northern California, man. Oh my God, the weather is incredible. Glorious weather. All right. Did you guys know that 23 minutes from now, the Rise of the 49ers documentary is on AMC? I am recording, but I'm going to go check it out as well. So this is not going to be the endless 3-hour, 4-hour extravaganza. We just want to pop in and pop out and talk a little bit more about the news of the day for the 49ers, and that is that Raheem Morris is Kyle Shanahan's handpicked defensive coordinator. And it's interesting on a lot of fronts. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to give you the good. We're going to give you the bad. We're going to give you the ugly. We're going to give it to you all because that's the way we do it. We're not going to sit here and say, I knew when this was going to be I knew it. I was the guy. How tired is that, by the way? I told you all. Listen to me. I told you. I'm a know-it-all. I'm just so beyond that. I'm so tired of that. I will not participate in that. I'm not. Let me just tell you the first right now. I'm your Niner content creator that occasionally is wrong and likes to admit it. So if that's too much for you, there's the door. Or maybe if you entered on this side, there's the door. I'm not always right. I'm not always the first person on the story. I don't always have a chart or a stat to justify why the Niners fucked up. Sometimes they just effed up. I'm not going to apologize for the team. Now, I'm not here to get anybody either. I'm going to get John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan if it's the last thing that no. If that's your cup of tea, there's the door. Or there, depending what side you entered. So that's not me. I just tell you honestly what I think. And that means that there's going to be trades this offseason that I like. There might be a signing that I don't. Might be a draft pick that I love. Might be something that I fucking hate. I'm just going to say it. I don't pull any punches. I'm not rah-rah team. I'm not part of the 49er Gold Rush cheerleader squad. I'm not. I'm not. Give me a 4. Give me a 9. Anything they do, all roads lead back to success. I knew they were going to do this. This is the greatest move of all time. Why? Because they did it. I'm not that guy. And I'm not the guy who's going to sit there and just tell you it effing sucks. They suck. And they just another horrendous decision before they all get fired and we see utter and complete regime change. You know what I'm saying? No. I'm not giving you that either. I'm going to try to stay on the balance beam. You know, I'm trying to give it to you honest, right? I'm trying to tell you what I think's good about it. Trying to tell you what I think's kind of questionable about it. I'm going to try to be honest, try to be real. You all tuned in here, but you don't know if I'm pro Raheem or anti Raheem. You don't know before you got here what side I'm on. That's why you're here, and that's why so many are here with you. So thank you for everybody who's supporting the Krug Show. All right, let's talk about Raheem Morris. Atlanta went 8-9 this year with Raheem Morris, and the Niners offense got back on schedule. The only team they could really run against was Raheem Morris's defense. Raheem Morris wasn't very good in Atlanta as if you look at the record, 16-18 overall. And those of you who wanted to use a bunch of numbers to tell us that Gus Bradley sucked, 37-56 is Raheem Morris's career as a head coach. So he sucks as a head coach, right? He's not a good head coach. Or you just think his record doesn't reflect who he is. 37-56 is a crappy head coaching record. Okay? That's the truth. Now, he's considered to be somewhat of a defensive wizard. He's kind of known for his ability to, build culture where there is none, to rebuild defensive culture where the defensive culture has evaporated. He's a builder. He's good with the players. He builds a trust with the players. He's versatile. He's a versatile. He loves to be multiple. He loves to be versatile. I think why is he a good fit over Schwartz? Because the Niners, like kind of zone heavy schemes, and that's predominantly what he features, what Raheem Morris features, predominantly zone heavy schemes. You're going to see lots of cover 3 and lots of cover 4 from him. So I think that's part of it. I mean, when you draft a lot of zone corners and you've got a lot of zone players and you feel comfortable playing zone, it's not as easy to just be like, well, no, now we're going to the man guy. We're going to play man. Well, some guys have strengths where they're good playing man. The old saying, if you match up, you play man. If you don't match up, you play zone. The Niners have not invested a lot of high picks in their secondary, so they've gone with a lot of day 2 and day 3 picks. They're not super blue chippers. So they don't have necessarily a bunch of guys back there that play great man-to-man coverage. And they're not necessarily used to it. So to go to Schwartz would have been a dramatic departure, a guy who, features a lot more man-to-man, and it would have required probably some personnel changes and definitely some mindset changes from a lot of the 49ers young defensive backs. And they've already had a lot of change over if they've been here for a couple of years. Just ask Jair Brown about how many different systems, how many different coaches he's heard from in his brief NFL career with the Niners. So he loves to be versatile. He loves, a lot of zone-heavy schemes, a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. What I love about the move the most, and, I was fine with Bradley. I don't know. I try to be totally perfectly transparent about how I felt about these guys. I think Bradley's a really good coach. I think Raheem Morris is a good coach, and I think Schwartz is a good coach. Now, the fourth coach they had, I thought, was the lesser of the the four candidates. And he had been here before, and I would have been a little bit disappointed with him. But I told you that I was totally fine with Bradley. No problem going forward with Bradley. Really, and I think Bradley's a really good coach. And nothing that I've heard from anybody and I've listened to everybody and all the people bitching and complaining about Bradley. I never really heard anything that really stood up. You're leaning on rankings, and I'm going to tell you before we get out of here why leaning on rankings would make you an enemy of this hire. So we'll get into that as well. So if you're sitting there, well, he wasn't ranked very high. Well, Raheem Morris, his defenses have not been ranked very high. So it's got to be about a defensive coach's overall worth has to be measured in more than just the rankings of where his defenses have ranked in the past. And yet it's not like it doesn't matter. It does make me crack up, though, when I think of rankings, because I think of Brian Dable trying to tell Joe Shane why the guy they got from Tennessee, who they fired this year, was it Shane Bowen, was why he was such a great. He had his phone out. He's like, look, he's third against the run. He's sixth against the pass. He's moving. He's like pulling it off his phone. I'm like, dude, this is your organization. Your head coach is pulling stats off his phone and going, hey, GM, hey, look at my phone. I mean, you guys don't have a more official way to meet than look at these stats I dug up on my phone. Needless to say, that regime is no longer intact. Dable's been fired. Joe Shane is still there. But a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. But what I love about Raheem Morris is I really think he can maximize the 49ers' current defensive talent. I think he's a guy that is going to be able to develop some of these young DBs. They have a lot of young defensive backfield talent right now. And if they brought in a new guy who just showed all these guys to the door, I think that would be a problem. I think Morris is here to develop most likely this year. He likes to use, 4-man defensive fronts, but he's adaptable. Atlanta was second in blitz rate. So, I mean, he definitely, he's got head coaching experience. Tampa Bay with Atlanta. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Guy won a Super Bowl with Sean McVay in LA. He won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay as well. That's a good thing. Showing, your voice is louder when you've reached the promised land and played and won it. And he's done it twice. So that brings great credibility to his message. He's now, I kind of like him because I think he's a guy that can blend, modern day blitz packages, which have to be a part of the game plan, with zone fundamentals that are sound across the board on all levels. And that's probably the most attractive trait. If I've talked to Shanahan about so many different coordinators, defensive coordinators around football, and the word that he'll use, and it's not a coverall, but it's an important word to him, is their sound. In other words, you can do a bunch of whatever, but is it sound in its philosophy? Is it sound and grounded in its principles, or do you just roll the dice? Are you a riverboat gambler? People's like Steve Wilkes was fired because of this and that. Steve Wilkes was fired because he rolled the dice and had a 0 blitz at the end of the first half of the Vikings game, and Addison burned him for a touchdown. He was a dead man walking after that. The rest of it was just window dressing. But once he had that horrendous gaffe, and you heard Shanahan called him out basically at the presser. He's like, yeah, he screwed up or whatever. I forget exactly how he phrased it, but he didn't mince any words, and he didn't cover his coach. So that's Steve Wilkes in that situation wasn't sound. I think Sorensen's downfall was just he didn't have any players. I mean, you're talking, and I don't think he had a real good feel for how to make adjustments. And he definitely didn't have any answers when we talked to him in the postgame. Hey, what happened here, Nick? Just communication breakdown. I mean, the whole thing was one gigantic fucking communication breakdown. Well, that's his weak. I mean, you say it once, that's fine. You're smart. You say it repeatedly, you're no smarter than Singletary talking about, I've got to watch the film. It's just a buzzword, cover all, cover ass. Let me get out of the room so I don't have to answer any more of these questions. I don't have the answer, so here's my cover-all answer, communication breakdown. But what Morris can do is he can blend. He can blend, some exotics. You need to come with exotic blitz packages. You need to be able to dial up very creative blitz packages. And he's big with simulated pressures. You're going to see more of those. But at the core of it is sound zone fundamentals. And he connects with his players. And he builds a positive culture. The we, not me philosophy. This guy's, the interesting thing is the change that it might involve, or what changes might be involved. He ran a 34 front in LA as his base defense, but then shifted to kind of a more aggressive blitz heavy approach as well. So, this is an interesting guy. He's also got experience on both sides of the football. Will the Niners run a 3-4? Will the Niners run a 4-3? I think they'll probably stay with their 4-3. But we'll see. There's a lot of unknown here. But he's got experience on the offensive side of the ball. He's been a wide receiver coach in this league. He's been a passing game coordinator. But I really think the number one reason he's a great hire here is he can develop young talent, and he's got a good eye for it as well. The Niners have a bunch of young DBs. This guy's got 20 years of NFL experience. And what he's proven to be able to do, because he's done different things at his different stops, is that he can adjust his scheme to fit the skill sets of his personnel. And that's what a good coach does, right? He puts his players in the best chance, the best spot to succeed. He's a guy that the players really connect with on all levels, very respected across the board. If you saw, the Atlanta players, when it was announced that he was leaving, they were very emotional, because they had built a relationship with Raheem. So, he's a guy, he's a player's coach. First and foremost, he's a player's coach, and he wins them over. He's positive with his players. He builds up their confidence. He puts them in position to succeed. Wow, Krug, he sounds like the perfect coach. He's not perfect. He's as a head coach, he was criticized continuously for the clock management decisions he's made in Atlanta. And then if you look at his defenses were ranked, mid-pack, 25th in 2024 in yards per game, 19th in 2024 in points per game allowed. He's not a winner. It's not like this guy wins everywhere he goes. No, he had a 398 winning percentage as a head coach. So, now there are a lot of great coaches in football that can't be head coaches. Ray Rhodes was an absolute awesome defensive backfield coach and a great defensive coordinator. Wasn't much of a head coach in the NFL, the numbers say, but he was a hell of a football coach. If you're a Raider fan, Joe Bugle was one of the best offensive line coaches almost in any era. Coached the Hogs, one of the best football coaches out there. He was the Raiders head coach. Didn't do anything. Couldn't get anything done. Was not considered a good head coach. So, some guys top out at the coordinator spot, and they're not great head coaches. But what I like about Raheem Morris is that, he's played with different players, different strengths. He's had his front be a strength. He's had his back end where he's had star players. He used Jalen Ramsey in LA in that kind of star, hybrid role, and moved him around the formation and utilized his strengths as a bigger number one cover corner guy. You saw Kobe Durant grow up in LA under Raheem Morris. The negative is that he's never had a top 15 defense. I don't believe anything above a top 15 defenses. His LA defenses were ranked 17th, 19th, and 21st. He never was top 15 with these Atlanta defenses. So, it's not like, hey man, this guy, wherever he goes, a number one defense follows. No, it's not necessarily the case. But he's still, what's the important thing is he has Shanahan's trust. And, Shanahan wants to, have a defensive coordinator that he trusts. You also have to have somebody who can adapt to your personnel, that has a sound scheme, that can work with the players, that can be positive, and that you think can be here for a few years. And I think Raheem Morris fits all of those descriptions. I mentioned Kobe Durant. Kobe Durant's a free agent. I would not be surprised if he left the Rams and came to the Niners. I thought that Morris was part of the reason that Cam Curl came to LA, but I may have gotten those years mixed up. But Durant definitely emerged and grew as a player under Raheem, and I could see Durant leaving the Rams and coming to the Niners in the offseason. So that's definitely one player that I could see, him, bringing in. We'll see. Just a guess. But you're going to see a physical, more blitz-heavy approach than I think you've seen thus far. Now, it's all about personnel. The Niners have a strong need for an interior rusher. They need a big-time guy, opposite Nick, and they need to take their other rush guy and basically have him come in play in a much more limited snap situation. I mean, it was great to have Bryce Huff, but Bryce Huff is not a every down defensive end. To me, they ruined Bryce Huff this year because they didn't have enough depth. So he had to play a lot more on first and second down and in more run heavy downs. Now, the one positive was that Bryce Huff showed that he could play the run. Bryce Huff was good against the run this year. I like the way he stood in there for a speed rusher that is known for his get off and his pass rush. For Bryce Huff to play the run as well as he did was impressive. So what do you got? You got Bryce Huff, you got Nick Bosa, you got Sam Aquinu. Yatir Gross-Matos is a free agent. Cleve Farrell, they got to decide what they're going to do with him. You got Keon White, who can play inside-outside. You got Mikael Williams, who can play inside-outside. So, and then obviously you get the young rookies inside, Collins and West. So, but they need a pass rushing tackle badly. They need a big time star opposite Nick Bosa badly. Zion Young from Missouri would be phenomenal. They need to build up their linebacking core with a lot of speed. They need 3-4 guys who can really run. And they need a couple players in the secondary. A Kobe Durant, though, would help. That would help for sure. He would definitely help them. So, what can you expect to see from Raheem Morris? It's hard to know, but I think we may see a little bit of a transition from their strict wide 9 front to more, a more versatile scheme. And you may see, them not in the strict wide 9. You may see an alteration to that. We may see some 34 defenses. I think we're still going to see the wide 9. I could see Chris staying here. I mean, Raheem adjusts to his talent, but he coaches a 3-4 defense, so you may see some 3-4. You're definitely going to see more movement up front. So I think for sure you're going to see more stunts, more twists, more robber safety looks. You say, what's robber? Putting the safety in the middle of the field, and then, the element of confusion. What are you going to do? You're going to make teams pause a little bit because you're going to give them one look and rotate into something else, right? You're going to give them that decoy. You're going to pretend that you're going to show them one look and you're going to pivot into something else, or you're going to pivot from one look into something totally different post snap. I think you're going to see a little bit more confusion. I think you're going to see what they call more robber safety looks. There's going to be more simulated pressures. I think you're going to see it. He's big on simulated pressures. So more movement up front, more stunts, more safety games, more, some trying to confuse your opponent a little bit, trying to make your opponent pause, more simulated pressures. So you're giving the quarterback a lot of different looks pre-snap. Probably transitioning from the strict wide 9 to a more versatile scheme, but definitely still a lot of let's get it done with 4 up front and, let's play a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. So it's going to be interesting. I think Raheem Morris is smart enough to understand that he has to come into this situation. There needs to be some building. There needs to be some skill development. There needs to be some prospect development. You've got some players here that are really good players that have yet to really be fully formed as football players. Marquise Siegel's a good talent, but he's not fully formed as a player. Same with Jair Brown. Same with Malik Mustafa. Same with Upton Stout. These guys all have a lot of growth left, and they need to be coached, and they need to be pumped up full of confidence, and they need more help up front. A young DB's best friend is more pressure, and the Niners had the worst pressure, 20 sacks all year. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see too, because what kind of players does Raheem Morris like, and how big of a role does he have in the building and the rebuilding of this team? I think that's going to be something to watch for sure. All right, let's hit a couple supers here. The documentary is about to get going here. Simps Slayer 2055. Hey, Larry, you've been saying the offense needs speed. Why don't they convert Guerendo to fullback? He could possibly do what Juice does, and it won't be a waste of a pick. That would be good for the passing game. Yes. I mean, there's Isaac Guerendo's got a lot of speed. He's a very great athlete. I mean, there's good athletes, very good athletes. There's great athletes. This guy's a great athlete. He stands out on he's not even he really skill-wise, he's not even good yet, right? But he stands out because of his size and speed and athleticism on an NFL field with the greatest athletes in the country, right? Are NFL players. And this guy stands out among NFL players. So you drafted him, and you haven't been able to figure out how to use him. So right now he's a bust. Right now he's a huge wasted pick, and kind of a high one at that, and just one of many for the Niners. But they don't trust him. He can't be trusted because he doesn't take care of the football. And I agree with you. He's not a running back. I mean, I said it instantly. I said to Kyle Shanahan, so what is he? Is he a running back? Is he this or is that? He's like, he's a running back. I'm like, well, I mean, okay. But he isn't a running back because he doesn't know how to pick and slide. He has no running back instincts. He doesn't know how to make people miss. He doesn't run with body lean. He doesn't secure the football. Though his fumbles have come on special teams, it's just because he hasn't been used from scrimmage because they don't trust him. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, why can't this guy do what Juice does? I'd love to hear that. What's the magic of what Juice does that Guerendo just cannot do that? I'd love to hear that explained to me, because yeah, he's not a running back. He's never going to have. I've not watched enough football to know that you don't just develop running backs skills. You either have those instincts or you do not. It's not. I've never seen anybody who got to the NFL level, didn't have pick and slide, didn't have feel for how to hit the hole and how to play the position and run with body lean and all the different things that go into being an instinctive running back. And then they didn't have that, but then all of a sudden 3 years in, they got it. Ooh, yeah, now he's got it. Now at best, this guy's going to be Raheem Mostert. He's going to run upright. He's going to be fast to the edges and maybe a home run hitter. At best, he'll be Raheem Mostert. But I don't even think he'll be that, because he's not as fast quite as Mostert. He's bigger. I think he's a receiver, and the other thing, this guy is Bill Walsh was a genius. Why? Because he wasn't worried about what you couldn't do. He found out what you could do, and then that's how he utilized you. It's called being a great coach. The 49ers have a running back that doesn't have any running back instincts. They're asking him to play special teams just because he's big and fast. He is a receiver. He was a high school receiver. Throw him the ball out of the backfield. My God, How could you go an entire football season, have this guy up a number of times, and not one time you got this guy isolated on somebody's slowish linebacker up a seam? Not one time? A guy who had this kind of receiving skills, this kind of size, this kind of speed, this kind of a mismatch, and you couldn't get him ISO'd on a slow backer one time all year? So you either don't know how to use them, don't want to use them, don't like to use them, don't know how to use them. I mean, there's only so many boxes left. So I would suggest they either move off of him or use him as a receiver. I mean, so what? You have no receivers. Look how slow your receivers are. You had no big playability at receiver. And yet, did Shanahan show any creativity and flex him out and let him be a receiver and get him ISO down the field, and try to get a mismatch or any? Never, not once. Just kept running your slow ass Bourne, JJ, and all these slow guys. And you're sitting there at the end of the year, we didn't have any speed. Yeah, you did. You didn't play it. You didn't play any of your speed. You had Cowan, he can run. You didn't play him. You had Watkins, he can run. You didn't play him. You had Garendo, he can really run. You didn't play him. You didn't develop these guys. Don't say you didn't have them. You couldn't develop them. And either it's the personnel department is not drafting you the right guys, or you're not very good at developing your guys. But you didn't develop them, any of those guys. So I don't know if they can next year, but if they can't, they ought to just trade them. If you can't develop them, trade them, because you get nothing out of them. And there's nothing worse than that's one of the Niners' biggest problems, is that they're not as thin as you would think, but Shanahan's usage on offense makes them seem thinner than they are, because he won't use anybody who's not like JJ, Juice, CMC, or Kittle. Everybody else is like, no, we're not using him. Other teams use other guys, not the Niners. If you're not one of their main guys, dude, you might as well just not even suit up. Bill Kennedy says Grant takes full credit for the DC hire. Soulful Sound Station. Hi, Krug. Do we get his defensive ends too? Yeah. You want Jalen Walker and James Pierce from Atlanta? I will say this. I mean, we're in an era where everybody's getting. Have you noticed this about football? Everybody's getting smaller and faster. What did the Falcons do? They got smaller and faster. What are the Niners doing at defensive end? They're getting bigger, smaller and faster. Jalen Walker, James Pierce, 240, 250-pound guys. Those guys are sacking the quarterback way more than the Mikael Williamses of the world. And they're going to continue to. It's a game of speed. And the 49ers are effing slow on offense, on defense. So it's time to get fast. It's time to look for some speed. It's time to look for some badasses up front off the edge. It's time to look for some linebackers who can effing fly. 49ers are slow. Every single guy that I would draft would be a speed element guy. You need more speed. As far as some of Raheem's guys that he's familiar with. By the way, Jordan Schultz, I think originally broke the story. But as far as guys that Raheem likes, somebody put it out there. I'm gonna see if I can find the tweet. But I know David Onyemata is a player that he's worked with. It's a lot of older guys. But Kobe Durant is on that list. David Onyemata is a free agent. He's on that list. He might be a guy that I can see the 49ers going after. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what players he'll bring, but he will not be bringing like Jared Verse. Don't expect Agent Zero or Jared Verse. And I was looking at the Rams defensive line, or defensive players, and Kobe Durant. I would say is the one guy that you could look at and say, maybe Kobe Durant. I could see him coming over because Raheem definitely had some impact in Durant's development, and the Niners could always use another corner. David Butler, if he runs a 3-4, what are we going to do with our lack of linebackers? Please say hi to my wife, Dana. Hey, Dana. How you doing? Thanks for watching the show with David. Yeah, the Niner linebacking core needs to be rebuilt. I mean, they need a bunch of linebackers. I mean, the nice thing is you've got linebackers that could run. The Niner linebackers, a 4-3 linebacker, a 3-4 linebacker. I'm not saying it doesn't make a difference. The Niners ran a lot of what we would call, kind of a 4-2, like a 4-2-5 base this year. The Niners were in, even though the 4-3 is the Niners base defense. If you wanted to say what were they in the most this year, they were in the 4-2-5. They were in the nickel. The nickel's the base. The nickel has become the base. The sub package has become the base, and the base has become the sub package. And what you're saying, sitting there going, well, what are you talking about? The thing that you're in the most is considered your base defense. The base defense for the 49ers is a 4-3 wide 9, right? With 4 DBs. Well, but they're in a 4-2-5, a higher percentage of the snaps than they are in the base defense. So, technically their base is kind of a 4-2-5. It's a nickel look base. So I don't know. He's been known as a guy that can adapt to his personnel and to his scheme. I do think the Niners like Johnny Holland and Chris Kasarik and their wide 9, and I do think they're probably going to stick with it. But it's going to look different, and you may see some smaller edge rushers. And you're absolutely David, you're spot on though. The 49ers need to invest in several linebackers. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is that if you look at the position of linebacker and how in the draft, there's going to be good linebacker. The linebacker is a position that you can find guys, late in the draft. I'll give you just a couple names that are day 3 linebackers that I love. Wesley Basainth from Miami, who's gone from like 6'1", 205 pounds to like closer to 220. He flies, absolutely flies for the Hurricanes. One of my favorites are the combo who plays for South Florida, Mac Harris and Jaden Schuler. Go watch those guys. They both fly. Harris is 6 feet, 235. He's a grad transfer, I believe. Schuler, super athletic, really athletic. But both these guys, they absolutely move incredibly well. Kyle Lewis, the small linebacker for Pittsburgh, about 6 feet, 220. What a week he had in Mobile. My God, he was everywhere. Guy was absolutely amazing. And the Torian York, who's like 5'11", 230, small linebacker, but man, I've been watching A&M for the last few years. This guy is he's a terrific player. And he's going to probably be a day 3 guy because he's 5'11", 230. Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, star. He was fantastic in the practices this weekend. He's one of the most productive players in college football. So there's a lot of good linebackers. There really are. I mean, and I just named a couple. Desmond Purnell, the sawed-off K-State linebackers, 5'11", 230, runs like the wind. Shad Banks Jr. from Texas San Antonio, one of my favorite linebackers, 6 feet, 230, runs like the wind. Really, really exciting player. There's a guy from Morgan State. There's a Morgan State linebacker. He's not even on this list. I got to look this guy up. He is terrific. And Morgan State linebacker, and he's a late round. He's a day 3 guy. And he's really, really good. And I mean, this guy's just super, flies around, all kinds of range, just second level dominator. Just absolutely. Eric Hunter is his name. Yeah, he goes by E40. He wears number 40 for Morgan State. Come on, E40's a Niner fan. If you go by E40, the Niners have got to draft you. And this guy's awesome. This is one of my favorite players in the entire draft. Eric Hunter. Go watch this guy. I mean, there's not tons of film on him, but you absolutely love this guy. He flies around. He makes tons of plays. Really, really fun. Really fun player. Jaden Duggar from Louisiana. That's a tall, fast, athletic linebacker. Xavier Saray Jr. from Arkansas. Really exciting linebacker. So there's a bunch. I mentioned Kyle Lewis, Red Murdoch from Buffalo. I got to see what he runs because he may run a slow 40 time, but what a tackling machine that guy is. Harold Perkins, Aiden Fisher from Indiana. I told you about Torian York. I love Deontay Lawson, Anthony Hill, CJ Allen. I mean, there's a bunch. Bunch of linebackers. But yes, 49ers need linebackers badly. No doubt. And hi, Dana. Once again, Tyler Wise guy, defensive line, Caleb Banks, 6'6", 335 at the Senior Bowl practices. Wow, after watching some videos on him, he was a ragdolling O-lineman, his power capacity, and then the fearsome rip down and swim pass rush. Tyler, you're reading my mind. That was my biggest takeaway from this weekend from the Senior Bowl is if the 49ers now the Niners have a lot of needs. Right? We all know they got lots of needs. Unfortunately, and you only have so many picks. But I'm telling you, that guy that you're talking about, Caleb Banks, now he's got a foot injury, and he's had a recurrence of the foot. And I've got to make sure that that's right. But if that's right, to me, this guy is the Niners. He's the guy that, this is the Niners 3 technique badass. I would not pass on Caleb Banks. Would not pass. To me, this guy could be the Niners version of Jalen Carter. He's just so damn big and explosive. He's a Detroit kid who went to Southfield A&T for high school. Then he went to Louisville. Then he transferred to Florida. And he's already earned his bachelor's degree in education sciences. He's a 2-time SEC academic honor roll. He's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. This guy dominated. And he was just, you're right, he was just ragdolling dudes. 2-time captain in high school, SI All-American candidate, had offers to go to Cincinnati, Michigan, Tennessee, and started at Louisville and then transferred to Florida. And this guy is just a beast. I agree with you. I mean, I'm always looking for that because to me, these guys are the guys that just dominate the game. The two-gapper, dominant inside tackle, as Tim Ryan would call him, the war daddy. You put Caleb Banks next to, and if that foot checks out, that foot's got to check out. Cannot be drafting a guy that, he played 3 games. He was out for the year with a foot stress injury. No. But I like this. This guy played on a line with Tyreek Sapp. I'd like to have both those guys. Banks and Sapp. Banks wears 88. Go watch him. He's a wrecking ball. When you see a dominant two-gapper who also has pass rush ability, he is the war daddy in the middle. If Caleb Banks is on the board at 27, I'd run that card in. I know they have offensive line needs. I know there's other guys. I know there's this, that, all kinds of million positions. I'm just telling you, Tyler Wise guy is the wise guy here tonight. He's right. Caleb Banks is if he wrecks shop on a level, you got to make sure that foot's fine. You got to make sure the foot is okay. I mean, it's as simple as that. You draft this guy and the foot's not okay, you're a jackass, But I mean, I love Zion Young, but Caleb Banks, 6'6", 334 pounds, massive frame, 35-inch arms, unbelievable burst off the snap, strong hands, crazy athleticism, dominates all along the line of scrimmage, 20% win rate on true pass sets in 2024. Just powers through double teams like it ain't nothing. This guy reminds me of Chris Jones. Rare movement size for a guy this big. The recurring foot injury limited him to 3 games this year. 3 games. He also has a 25.5% missed tackle rate for his career. That's too damn high. And he loses power. He comes up out of his stance. He doesn't play with a bended knee, doesn't play with leverage. He's got inconsistent pad level. Sometimes it causes him to get moved. He's not the best short yardage player, but this guy's going to be somewhere between 20 and 35, something like that. And the Niners pick 27. But you got to check out that foot. You can't have him missing time with the foot. If the foot checks out, that's my pick in the first round. Caleb Banks. Beast. Absolute beast. Total dominator. Man, that's the kind of guy that would change. There is what Tim Ryan's talking about when he's like, man, they got to get those war daddies. Caleb freaking Banks. Chupa _ May Verga. And I apologize if I'm butchering that. He says, Kyle and Lynch better not make Raheem run wide 9 like they did Steve Wilkes. If Raheem has a bad year 1, I can see him being the fall guy like Wilkes was. Yeah, but you got to remember this. Wilkes didn't have a relationship with Shanahan. Raheem has a relationship with Shanahan. So there's going to be dialogue there for sure. But you're right. They need to I don't know. As far as make him, we're going to find out. I mean, Raheem Morris has proven that he can, I don't want to say he can change, but he is going to adapt to his personnel. We'll see what he's going to run. Jeb, F you, Larry. Why you always get us excited in the offseason? They never pick up and draft who we want. Hey, man, I'm just here to have fun. Talk Niners. Hey, I can tell you who they should draft. I can't make them draft the right guys. I can't. So I do have a pretty good feel for it. Excuse me. Jeb says, who would you pick up in the draft in free agency as a 3-4 linebacker? Well, I just kind of named some. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, this Kyle Lewis kid from Pittsburgh I saw this weekend is a tremendous player. Definitely like him a lot. I mean, he would be a guy that I would definitely like. I gave you a couple: Basainth, Mac Harris, Jaden Schuler, the kid from Morgan State. Is definitely special. Definitely special. Love him. So there'll be more between now and I gotta continue to study, but I'm not quite there yet. As far as free agency, the linebacker, that I was thinking of when Schwartz was a candidate, I think is an interesting guy. Devin Bush, who kind of came into his own. He's an undersized guy. He played for Cleveland, but I really like the job that he did. And I liked him at Michigan. So that's a name to keep in mind. Devin Bush. Another linebacker that, runs great, and he's a veteran, and he seems like he's been around the block a number of times, but he was in Kansas City. I've always been a Willie Gay fan, and Willie Gay's a free agent. And I think his price tag's pretty moderate. That'd be my guess. Tyler Wiseguy says, hey, Larry, have you seen Navy defensive lineman Landon Robinson? He's a very interesting 3-tech prospect. He has a combo of balance, agility, and explosiveness. I'm a big fan of this kid, and I put something out on Twitter early in the week or maybe last weekend about him, how much I liked him, and he retweeted it. I saw that. So that was kind of cool. I've never met him before, but I'd love to try to get him on the show. I really like Landon Robinson a lot. I was going through some of my favorite players that I saw this week. I'll give you just my brief list. I love Bud Clark from TCU. Love the Arizona State tackle who's just 6'6", 330 and freaking fast. Max Inacho or Iheen Achor. I mean, that guy is just a freak. Gabe Yakus from Illinois. Love Gabe Yakus. Keelan Rutledge, the guard from G-Tech. Love Keelan Rutledge. Bo Stevens, the interior player from Iowa. Got a wrestling background. Could be the Niners' future center. Jennings Dunker, love him. The Penn State kid, Vega Ione, unbelievable guard. The edge rusher, Nadame Tucker from Western Michigan. Watch out for him. Though he's a little bit older. So I think he's 26, which you always got to be a little weary of the guys that are older. Are they good because they're good, or are they good because they're older? And when they get to the league, they're not going to get a whole lot better. Love Caleb Banks. Love Kyle Lewis. Landon Rob. Oh, Landon. You're talking about Landon Robinson. So Landon Robinson is 5'10", 290. You know, this is kind of like, I liked Willie Lampkin last year as a guard. He was basically 5'10", 290 as a guard. And you know what? Height is the most overrated thing. If you are a good enough athlete and you're built like a fire hydrant, it's a low man wins deal inside. And this guy, Landon Robinson, is the real deal. I love him. He's quick as hell off the snap. Now, always a concern at 5'11", 291. Is he just going to get engulfed, right? Is he just going to get engulfed in the run game and, be very limited? But, I mean, so what? I mean, to me, I'd draft Landon Robinson if I didn't think he could play a down as a defensive tackle, because let this guy be your replacement for Juice. This guy's an athletic, tough ass at 5'11", 290. That 5'11", 290, you're a fire hydrant. This guy's got quickness off the snap. He's the Energizer Bunny out there. He had an 84.7 pass rush grade from PFF, 34 pressures, 6.5 sacks on the year. He's got big time pursuit speed. This guy can totally run. He's the captain of the team. He's the leader. He's a great kid. The work ethic is there. The character's off the charts. The guy plays with unbelievable natural leverage. He was on the Bruce Feldman Freaks list because he's got a 33-inch vertical, benches 465. He's been clocked at 20 miles an hour on the GPS. Yes, I love this guy. Now, the arm length is an issue, right? He's a little bit like Seabass Valdez. He's got, 32-inch arms, probably less than 32-inch arms. So he's not an ideal size. He probably is not an every down player. He didn't play for a Power 5 school. There's times where you're looking at him and you're like, how does he disengage? But, he's a late day 3 pick. And I'd want this guy on my team as, as a fullback. I want this guy as a fullback. If I don't care if this guy can't be a defensive tackle, I still want this guy as a fullback. He's that athletic, that tough. Or I'll take him as a short yardage bulldozer back. I mean, I might want to consider this guy as a center. I mean, I want this guy in camp this summer doing something. John Lynch, if you're listening, we want this guy in camp doing something. D tackle, fullback, long snapper, center, guard, something. Too big, too athletic, too smart, too good of a football player. This guy's going to be on the board in the 5th round or later. This is a guy that I would definitely draft. I love this kid. And if we can get him on the show, we're going to do it. Rez says, Krug, Zane Durant is good. He's what Solomon Thomas was supposed to be. Now, this is what guy that I've circled on months ago. I love the Penn State interior player, Zane Durant. He's like a movement skills of a linebacker, but he is an outstanding inside rusher. In a lot of ways, I could make the argument that Zane Durant is exactly the player that the Niners need. They're going to have 3 tackles, right? You got Collins and you got West. You need a third guy. Who's that third guy going to be? Well, it's got to be somebody who can rush the passer. And this guy can really rush the passer. I think he wears 28 for Penn State. You might want to check that, but this guy can absolutely fly. This is one of the best movement guys. He's 6 feet, 6'1", 288, 292, somewhere in that range. But what I love about Zane Durant is he gets real skinny through the hole, and man, he's terrific. He's terrific. He is an interior rusher. Yes, he's on my list. He's on my short list of guys that I absolutely want. Zane Durant, love him. Absolutely love him. Do we got some really sharp people in the chat tonight? Rez Thug, respect for even bringing that name up. Here's another respect. Silent. Wide receiver Tyron Montgomery rocked the Senior Bowl. Love him day 3. He rocked the Senior Bowl so well, he may not make it to day 3. This is one of the guys that I got to start studying. You're right. This guy was everywhere. Strength, attacking the football. I mean, this guy wants it. I really like this guy. Now, I got to see more, right? I got to see some separation there. But he did it this week, and he needs to be investigated. I'm going to be doing a thing with Steph Sanchez later on this week. She was there. Johnny Dells is going to stop by on the channel this week. He was in Mobile, so we're going to do a whole lot deeper dive this week on a number of the things from Mobile with people that were there. And we'll definitely chop it up on these guys. The receiver position is really interesting. You know, it's a great class, right? Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Denzel Boston, Kevin Concepcion. These guys are all good. You're looking for value. Chris Bell from Louisville should have been a first-round pick, but he tore up the knee. He's got an ACL. He's probably going to wind up falling to day 2. Somebody told me that he may fall to the beginning of day 3. If Chris Bell is on the board at the, going from, on the second night of the draft, if I'm the Niners, I would trade for that 4th-round pick, number 1 pick in the 4th round, and take that guy. Because this is a really good receiver who just tore his ACL. I love Chris Bell from Louisville. He's tiny, but I'll tell you, I'm in love with Zachariah Branch from Georgia. Georgia and Baylor each have 2 receivers, and I want all 4 of them on my team. Georgia's got Dylan Bell and Zachariah Branch. Baylor's got Cole Wilson and who's that other receiver? Josh Cameron. And I want all 4 of those guys. I mean, they're all terrific. Cameron's this big, physical, 220-pound guy. Cole Wilson's electric, just flies down the field. And then Dylan Bell, made plays down the field in the Shrine game. He's just reliable. Kind of reminds me of Debo. But Zachariah Branch is just a home run hitter. I mean, that Shanahan says, man, we need more speed. I start thinking, if I was his GM, I'd be like, dude, let's talk about Zachariah Branch. He's only 175 pounds. Now, some teams, I know this for a fact, some teams will not put you on their board if you don't weigh 180. That's a fact. So there are guys, if you're one of these 172-pound, return guys or what, there's a half dozen teams don't even have you on the board because you don't weigh 180 pounds. So that's the cutoff for some teams, that 180 barometer. Weber says, who are veteran War Daddy defensive tackles who, if cut before March, the Niners should target? P.S. Can I audition on to do your show with you one day? Thank you. I don't know about auditioning. I haven't really thought about that. Are we gonna do we need a co-host? Do I need to move aside for a co-host? We could probably work something out. As far as I'll give you, you said guys are cap casualties. I just did a whole video on this, cap casualties around the league. And as far as you're asking for defensive tackles who could potentially be cap casualties, I'll give you a couple cap casualties that I'm really excited about. One is Nick Allegretti, Washington's guard, who was in Kansas City before that. He's a buddy of mine, played at Illinois. The Niners showed some interest in Allegretti. I think Allegretti is ready to be a Niner. The defensive tackle or the defensive linemen that I think are the most exciting that potentially are cap casualties and could be cut. One would be Rashawn Gary from Green Bay, who's always been just a freak. 6'5", 280, super fast, but he just doesn't quite ever do it really with any consistency. But Kasarik might be able to really get it out of him. But the tackle that I like is Byron Young. Now, you know that name because that's Byron Young with the Rams. But that year that Byron Young came out from Tennessee, the man they call Agent Zero went to the Rams. There was another Byron Young that I really liked, and he went to Alabama. And then he went to the Raiders. And then the Raiders stupidly cut him or traded him, and he was in Philadelphia this year. But, Philly's got a bunch of talent there. And there's a lot of talk that Byron Young might be a cap casualty. That's the guy that I'd go after. He can rush the passer. He's athletic. He's young. Byron Young, former Bama player, former Raider, he's currently an Eagle. But I think there's a chance the Eagles cut him loose. And if I was Lynch, I'd pounce. That's the guy. Jeff 49ers. Larry, I'm surprised you being an A&M fan, you don't talk about wide receiver KC more. Great separation on go routes, inside release, gets open, great yak monster. He's kind of exactly the wide receiver you talk about that we need. Does he have drops? You know what? I love KC Concepcion, and I've heard people say, bad things about him and this and that. Marcel Reed regressed as the year went on. I mean, Marcel Reed is the only quarterback that I think I've ever seen that just consistently got worse as his career went on. And I loved Marcel early on, but it started being a problem. And by the end of the year, he was terrible. Go watch the Miami game. He was awful, absolutely awful. You talk about Purdy, you're like, hey, man, the ball comes out on time. It comes out on time with accuracy. He can process. He knows where he's going with the ball. Everything that I just said about Purdy, you could say the opposite about Marcel Reed. So I really put it more on the quarterback. But, yeah, no, I love Concepcion. In fact, Concepcion's going to run a great 40. I would say 4.4 flat, something like that. If he runs sub 4.4, then, yeah, I would absolutely grab him. There's some inconsistency there, but how much of it is him? How much of it is Marcel? How much of it is the fact that A&M, just is inconsistent as a football team across the board? I like KC Concepcion a lot. But I think he's going to go in the first round because I think he's going to run a great 40 time. And I don't think he's quite a first-round receiver. I like other guys more than KC Concepcion. I do like him, though. He's 5'11", 197 pounds. He's kind of built. He's got the exact same body type as Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's really explosive, and he can separate. The bottom line is Shanahan wants receivers who can separate, and the Niners don't have any that can separate. And you're right, Concepcion absolutely can. So he should be on their list. If they're looking to get faster and guys who separate, KC Concepcion should be on their list, no doubt. Good one there, Jeff. We got this one. Oh, we got some sharp people here. DeBig, all these names that Lynch won't even draft. Yeah, well, what can we say? Lone boner. Niners are missing that Merton Hanks type free safety. They have the missile and Mustafa. They need the stealthy Hanks type. Who kind of reminds me of Mert in this draft? Now Mert went to Iowa, right? And he was a corner that didn't run a great 40 time. There is a guy though this year that reminds me so much of Mert. Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. He can play the corner. He can play safety. He's long. He's probably 6'3". He's angular, but he's tough. It's like he's not one of these. Yes, he's a tall corner, but he's not weak. He's got some real talent there. I like him a lot. I also kind of like Davison Igbenuson from Ohio State, another tall corner, 6'2", really good player. Dalen Everett from Georgia, another tall corner, 6'1" and change, 6'2". Will Lee from A&M, good corner, 6'2". There's some good corners. Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin is a small school kid, but, another 6'1", 6'2" corner. So it's interesting. Pitt has got a kid named Battle who's a pretty decent sized corner. There's a bunch of them. So I've got to do more studying, but those are some of the corners. Oh, who I really love as a corner is go check out Devin Marshall from NC State. I thought the way he played in the All-Star circuit was great. He's just flying around. He's tough as hell. This kid's from Boston, Mass. NC State coaches it up really well. I love Devin Marshall. Probably going to be a day 3 corner. We'll see how he runs. It's going to, but the kid from Toledo probably reminds me the most of Mert, and Toledo's had some good players. They really have. And the guy that I'm talking about, McNeil Warren, what's his name? What I say his name was, really, really intriguing player. Emmanuel McNeil Warren. We're talking about 6'2", 6'3", really long, but strong. really great strength. He's a kid from the Tampa area, went to Lakewood High School in Tampa, second team All-American this year from the Sporting News. And, this guy's, this program got Samuel Womack, produced Samuel Womack, Quinyon Mitchell. Toledo's a good program, and this guy was only a 3-star prospect out of high school, but big family, man. 4 brothers, 4 sisters. He's already graduated with a degree, but I really like him. I'm eager to see what he runs. If he runs a crazy 40, he's going to go really high. But where the Niners are picking, at the end of the first round, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I mean, he's a gigantic, rangy, safety who can take away lots of real estate, covers a lot of grass, and I think has good cover ability. Really, really athletic. We got this one, JC report out of Denver. They may release Greenlaw. Would you? Yeah. See, this is the other issue for the 49ers. The landmine that they're going to have to sidestep this offseason is this. And people love it. Okay. And I get it. Okay. People love to look back, let's reunite with this person. And the Niners are going to have many opportunities this offseason. Eric Armstead's going to be a cap casualty. No, do not reunite with Eric Armstead. He's 32. He's played his best football. He's coming off a year where he had 16 pressures. Jacksonville can save $2.3 million if they cut him pre-June 1st. They're going to cut him. No. The Niners are going to try to be, we can get Eric back, and people are going to talk about that. Javon Hargrave is probably going to be a cap casualty. Do not bring back Javon Hargrave. He's 32. He's played his best football. Can he rush the passer a little bit? Yeah, but you need to find a young guy in that spot. Go find Byron Young. He's younger. Okay. Do not go back on Javon Hargrave. Deebo Samuel is going to be cut free this year, and he's a free agent. Do not look back glowingly on the Deebo days. And no, he's slow. He's put on weight. He had one good year in Washington. He's done. And Dre Greenlaw. I love Dre Greenlaw. Oh, my God, I love Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is one of my favorite Niners of all time. Do not go back to Dre Greenlaw. My God, be more creative than that. There are more people in the world. Do not go back to the guys that you had. It's going to be a very popular sentiment. We should go back to Dre Greenlaw. Denver saved $6 million if he's cut pre-June 1st. So they're probably going to cut him loose. Is he old? No, he's only 28. But this year alone, he had groin injuries. He had an ankle injury. He had a hamstring injury. He had a quad injury. He only played 58% of the snaps in the games that he played, and he only wound up playing 8 games. So that's going to be like the first lesson of this offseason, is that if the Niners are going to be good, they're going to have to look forward and not back. Do not look back at Armstead or Hargrave or Deebo or Greenlaw or any of these guys that you used to have that are going to shake free and get all nostalgic. Don't. It's a mistake. Go forward, get younger. Find the next Greenlaw. Find the next Armstead. Find the next Deebo. Have confidence that you can find those guys. Stop treating those guys like the last person on the planet. So, no. As much as I love Dre, no, I wouldn't. Look at all those injuries. How do you get faster, younger, and healthier by going after Dre Greenlaw? How do you get faster, younger, and healthier by going after Eric Armstead? How do you get faster, younger, and healthier by re-signing Deebo Samuel? Niners need to be faster, younger, and healthier. Tomorrow's stars, not yesterday's stars. I understand there's comfort in guys who used to do it, but no. Simple as that. No. All right. Big Tone in the house. I'm surprised because all you speak about are Aziz. You could have kept Greenlaw. You could have had it your weekly sermon. So surprised. They're different. I love Dre Greenlaw. Dude, if he was sitting here right now, I would express to him how special he is as a player. I mean, nobody has more of an appreciation for these guys. But if you're going to be if you're going to if you're going to be on top of the football world, you got to be good at personnel. If you're going to be good at personnel, you got to look forward and not backward. Name me the Super Bowl team that looked backward, signed some guy they used to have, and is now on top of the football world. I mean, I just don't think it happens. Now, Aziz is different. They never should have let Aziz out the door, right? And Aziz is still at the very top of his game. His body is not broken down the way that Dre's has. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest mistake of all time was not re-signing Aziz. I mean, find the next Aziz. They're hard to find. Find the next Greenlaw. They're hard to find. But, I mean, injured players become more injured over time. And I love Greenlaw. No, sorry. Matthew Short. Larry, how about Thomas for the Hurricanes? He has ball skills and is great against the run. I'll have to check him out. I love Bain for the Hurricanes, that's for sure. Man, if I could get Reuben Bain, Mac Jones in the Niners' first round pick for Reuben Bain somehow. Love Reuben Bain. Big Tone in the house. You speak about more the depth than the past, I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about the past that much. I mean, we'll talk about the past, but I mean, but depth is of how you win in the future. I don't know about you guys, but this, I want to see the Niners win that 6th Lombardi. Okay, and why do I want it? I want it for my boys. I want it for you guys. I want it for the young Niner fan. I was there. I was 11 in 1981. Okay, I've lived my dreams, right? I've seen my team win the Super Bowl in 81, 84, one of the greatest teams of all time, 88 in a year where nobody thought they could do it, most magical year in Niner history, 89, a coronation of Joe Montana, almost through the three-peat in 90, bounce back because of the Eddie D Bowl, with all the guys who wanted to play for Eddie D in the first year of free agency in 94. I've been to the mountaintops. I've golfed with my childhood hero, Dwight Clark, and had him tell me, he listens to my radio show, man. I've lived it. I've enjoyed it. And now I've watched them lose 3 Super Bowls. Harbaugh gagged. I mean, he absolutely gagged. There's no question about it. He absolutely 100% gagged. Jim Harbaugh gagged away the Ravens, the Harbaugh Bowl in New Orleans. The Niners were the better team that day. They were the better team in the second half. They would have won the game. They got down to the 8-yard line, and Jim Harbaugh whizzed down his leg and never gave the ball to Frank Gore and didn't run his running quarterback. Had his quarterback that couldn't throw with any layering at all attempt multiple fades. Thanks, Harbs. So he gagged, okay? Then the next one, Kansas City was just better. You're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes in his prime and Andy Reid in his prime with Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? That was 49ers were fortunate to be where they even in that game. So that one doesn't bother me. The one in overtime bothers me. I mean, that really bothers me. I mean, the Niners have to get it done. There's they got to get it done, and it's not going to get done because they re-signed their former great player in his twilight. It's going to get done when they go find the next great player, and that's what I'm all about. And so we're going to talk a lot about the draft throughout the spring, because the draft is the bloodline to the sport, and if you do it well, you win championships, and if you don't, you don't. Dom Peralta, Krug Show, Sharks game on the horizon. Let's effing go. Yes. We wanted to go to a Sharks game during the Christmas holiday, and then, it just didn't work out. And then, got this terrible sinus infection that I had for God knows how long. I mean, guys, how long did I have the sinus infection? I mean, I probably had it for a month. I battled that thing. I had tissues, and I'm just now coming out of it feeling good. It's unbelievable. I mean, I was a weeping, snot blowing it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. No days off. We took no days off, but still, it was hell. It was hell. But I'm healthy now, feeling great. And we're going to spring training. Really fired up for Kev's birthday. We're going to spring training. So we're really excited about that. But tomorrow I'm going to Radio Row, and we are going to bring the Krug Show to Radio Row with us with lots and lots and lots of interviews. In the morning, I'll be live at 9 a.m. with Damon Bruce on our Monday Wake Up. At 10:50, I will be on with Papa and Silver on KMBR for my Papa and Silver Monday hit. And then I'm going to get in the car and go down to Radio Row myself and tape a bunch of stuff in the afternoon with all my friends on Radio Row. And we'll bring it back and run some of it on Niners Nightly. We'll have some of those segments in a live stream that we will play on Monday night. And Super Bowl week is here. It's going to be awesome, man. Kev got me this amazing camera. And what we're going to do with it this week is going to absolutely floor you. You guys are going to love it. Amazing, amazing technology, and looking forward to it. So we'll be at Radio Row all week. So check out the Krug Show all week long from Radio Row. The Big 25 was 10 years old when the Niners won their first Super Bowl. All right. Hey, I was 11. Still remember the parade. Winning a Super Bowl is an unbelievable feeling. I want to feel again. Come on, front office. Yeah, seriously. Enough Mr. Nice Guy. It's been 30 freaking years. Your past owner just embarrassed you by saying, how would you deal with 31 years without a title? And he's like, I wouldn't. And you know what? I'm glad he said it, because it was a reminder that none of us should sit around anymore. Enough of this. You know what? There are worse teams. Fuck that. There are worse teams. Yeah, there's a bunch of shitty teams out there every year. So what? So what? Do you go out there every day? I'm trying not to be the worst. Do you tell your kids in class, just don't be the worst kid in the class? No. You try to win. You try to compete. You try to be the best. And it's time for the 49ers to get off their ass and build themselves a Super Bowl champion. And guess what? If they don't have the right guys to do it, then go get the right guys. I don't want to hear any more excuses. This isn't building this isn't building a rocket ship. This is not that difficult. It is not. They're making it look a lot more difficult than it is. Build this thing out, get to the Super Bowl, and win the 6th Lombardi. The time is running out. The regime's had a decade to make it happen. They've gotten close. Okay, they've gotten close. But they've made colossal mistakes. They've missed 10 times in the third round. They've missed 18 times in the first 3 rounds. They traded for Trey Lance. He couldn't fucking play. They signed Javon Hargrave. He didn't make a difference. There you go. Okay? They've made their mistakes. They've gotten close. You can't take Solomon Thomas in the top 5 over Patrick Mahomes without there being a price to pay. Okay? They've been good, but they haven't been good enough. Shanahan's a good coach. He's not good enough. Lynch has been a good GM. He's not good enough. These players have been good players. They're not good enough. All right? So we can sit here and analyze it forever, or they can get off their ass and start drafting better and signing smarter and being smarter and get this thing done. I don't want to say it's easy, because it's not easy, but it's been 10 years. There's plenty of money. There's a lot of people, a lot of talent there. Get it done. Get it done. No excuses. It says on the wall in the locker room, no excuses. I don't want to hear any fucking excuses. Get it done. And don't tell me it's been great. Okay? They've had some success. They haven't achieved this organization judges itself based on winning championships. Have they won the championship? No. Okay, so no parades, no nothing. Get it done. Get it done. I don't want to hear any excuses either. I don't want to hear about how great they've been. Don't tell me about what you've done. Tell me. I'm tired of hearing about it, and I want to see it. You can't miss 18 times in the first 3 rounds over 9 drafts and not feel it. You can't trade 3 number 1s for Trey Lance and have him suck and not feel it. You can't give the kind of money they gave to Javon Hargrave to be a wrecker, and then have him not do it and not feel it. You can only go for it so many times. Eventually, you got to get down and you got to you got to pick at a more efficient level than you're picking. Period. Matthew Short, Larry, do you feel Jed is really all about winning a Super Bowl championship? I think his heart's in the right place. I think he knows that he wants to win one. He knows he'll be validated when he wins one. The question is he going to, perform the right behaviors to win one? I think Jed has made some really good decisions. I think he's cut the check. I don't really blame Jed. I really don't. He's hired football people that he thought were good. He's entrusted them, and they haven't gotten it done. It's not on Jed. Jed's cutting the check. Jed's doing what he needs to do. Now, I did hear this year that Jed tightened the purse strings, and the Niners were 26th in undrafted free agent spending, and there's no fucking excuse for that, since that was probably the thing that they did best. And to not spend in an area that you spent better than anybody else in the past is cutting off your nose to spite your face. So if that is true, that Jed was the reason they didn't spend any money in undrafted free agency, then Jed is now officially part of the problem. But if Jed is, willing to cut the check and it's really just about the football people, making the right decisions, then I blame the football people. Be better. Hit more. Don't draft guys that you had in your class at Stanford. Draft Zion Young, who maybe has a DUI or DWI and maybe an arrest or two. Maybe he's a little rough, but he's a whole lot better than Solomon Thomas. How many awesome edge defenders are coming out of Stanford? Come on. Be smarter. You're the greatest players in the world are not necessarily showing up at Stanford. Just remember that. It's like, and if you do have the greatest player at Stanford and it's Christian McCaffrey, then recognize that. They passed on McCaffrey and went for Solomon Thomas because Lynch took a class with him and he had a good bowl game. And he was a total bust, top 3 bust. You don't get too many bites of the apple like that, man. Period. Look what they've done with their number 1 picks. Just a wasteland of failure. That's got to reverse itself. It's not about a popularity contest. It's about bottom line fucking production, period. Matthew Short says, Larry, I do feel Jed's all about winning. I do. Does he know how? No, but I think he's willing to cut the check. Dobie DM, lost the last 2 Super Bowls because of a weak offensive line. Yeah, which is only weaker today. That's part of the reason for sure. We got this one from Ian Sharp. Kick Lynch upstairs. Do what you got to do. Keep adding. You're not getting it done. And by the way, nobody's taking your guys. Your front office young guys are interviewing. Nobody's hiring them. Okay, so maybe you don't have a perfect process. Maybe you should streamline your process. Maybe you're a little too comfortable. Maybe the whole group is a little too goddamn comfortable. Maybe you need to hire a John Dorsey and let him give his opinions. Maybe you need a young GM that responds only to the owner and, provides Shanahan with the players. I don't know. Maybe your structure's wrong. Bottom line is we can say whatever, but they're not hitting enough. You want to win, you got to hit at a higher clip, period. The rest of this is just talk. Big Phil, what's Balky's take on the new DC hire? LOL.
I'll tell you, I like a guy that has 2 first names, all right? I'm a Trent, but I'm a Balky, okay? I'm a Balky. I'm a Trent Balky. I got 1 first name. But Raheem Morris, man, there's a guy right there, man. There's a guy that's got 2 first names. You could say his name is Morris Raheem, or you could say his name is Raheem Morris. And that guy, it's a talented guy.
There you go. There's my Balky. Stefan Niners, thoughts on trading up 10 spots or more for Mekhi Lemon or Denzel Boston, or using Pearsall as a trade piece? Well, Mekhi Lemon's magical. My only concern about him is just durability. He's awesome. Denzel Boston's is big and talented as well. They're not necessarily my favorite receivers in the draft, but I definitely I like both of them. I don't love Denzel Boston. To me, I love Carnell Tate. I love Carnell Tate from Ohio State. I just think he's fantastic. I like him the most. Jordan Tyson's slithery, but Mekhi Lemon is really good. And he reminds me a ton of Amon-Ra. And then Boston, I like, but I got to see what his 40 time is. You know, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Denzel Boston fan. Concepcion, I think, is going to run a great 40 time. Chris Bell, I really, really like out of Louisville, but he's coming off the ACL, so he's probably going to drop. Zachariah Branch is probably going to threaten the 4.21 combine record. I love Zachariah Branch, but he's only 5'10", 175 pounds. Jacoby Lane is really exciting for Pitt. He'll pick the ball out of the air. Elijah Surratt for USC, I should say. Elijah Surratt from Indiana is a solid receiver as well, probably a day 2 guy. I like Jeremy Bernard and Malachi Fields. I really like Jeremy Bernard. It reminds me a little bit of Anquan Bolden, and he's just tough, and he's really, really good. Malachi Fields, I think, would be a great replacement for Jawan Jennings. You know, huge guy. We'll see what he runs for the 40, but he gets fast. He's as fast as he needs to be to catch the ball. He's 6'4", 220. I think he's going to run a slow 40. Not a JJ slow 40, but I think like a 4.61, 4.59, something like that for Malachi Fields. So there's some question of whether he can separate. Ted Hurst from Georgia State is a small school badass. I love Ted Hurst. Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana, really, really strong receiver. I don't know about how much separation he's going to get, but he's very, very strong. Josh Cameron from Baylor, I think, is a terrific day 3 guy. He's probably going to be in the 4th round, but 6'1", 220, runs across the middle of the field like he freaking owns it. He is really good. I like that Josh Cameron kid. Reggie Virgil from Texas Tech is a tall receiver that can make plays along the sideline. I really like him. That Ty Montgomery from John Carroll, what a terrific receiver he is. You know, John Carroll's a tiny little school, but this guy's, you know, what he runs at the 40 is going to be interesting. Caleb Douglas from Texas Tech's a good receiver. I mean, there's a bunch. And I haven't even named them all, but there's a bunch for sure to key on. Dylan Bell is a day 3 receiver that I absolutely think is fantastic. Big fan of Dylan Bell. Cole Wilson, Chris Hilton from LSU, Deion Burks from Oklahoma is more of a slot receiver. I love Deion. The Iowa kid, you know, Caden Wagen. He's like 5'10", 195. I mean, I don't know what he's going to run, but he is really good. The little white kid from Iowa is crazy fast. And I don't know what he's going to run, but he's very, very, very fast. So it's going to be interesting. There's a bunch of receivers, of course, every year because, you know, teams in college football, a lot of 4 and 5 wides. Everybody's running the spread, so there's a lot of receivers every year. Those are some of the ones I like. Pearsall is a trade piece. I'm not rooting for it at all, but you know, I had a couple, you know, one person very close to the 49ers thinking brain trust say that they're going to trade Renardo Green and Pearsall. So we'll see. It makes no sense to trade those guys now. They're on their rookie deals, but you know, you got to play, man. I mean, I would offer Pearsall for Brian Thomas and see if I could get Brian Thomas out of Jacksonville. You got to play. You know, you got to play. Shanahan Shanahan's an odd character. At the end of the year, it sounded like he was defending Pearsall. He's like, he was really only Ricky for 4 games. But in a way, that's an indictment. You know, you're basically saying the guy, and he's like, what does he need to learn? He needs to learn to get back faster. Well, I mean, are you joking? Are you being silly? Or are you what? I don't know. I can't really decide if they're pissed at Ricky because he didn't, you know, play more or stay healthier, or if they're apologizing for him and they're trying to cover him. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. He's obviously a talented receiver, but he's also, I mean, I brought it up on draft day. I'm like, this guy, it's going to be a referendum on his toughness. And I know he got shot and the whole deal, but I said this before he got shot, that it's all going to be about exactly what kind of a tough player he is. Now, there's a difference between I got shot at Union Square and I can handle getting rocked left and right by NFL defensive backs. It's different categories altogether. Obviously, there's a level of toughness from being shot that supersedes all of this. But being shot also doesn't make you able to take smoking hits from strong safeties and weak side backers and stay on the field. Juwan Jennings gets destroyed, and he keeps playing. Ricky Pearsall takes one hit like that, and he's out. And he's out a long time. So he may just not be the guy. If you're, people are like, oh, he's Julian Edelman. Why? Because he's Caucasian? I mean, that's just the most ridiculous thing. Julian Edelman's like the toughest receiver that ever played the game. And you're going to sit there and say, this guy's Julian Edelman. I rolled my eyes when I heard that. Yeah, he's Julian Edelman. Really? That's what we're going with? He's Julian Edelman? Uh-oh. That my first thought was, uh-oh. Because how many Julian Edelmans have you ever seen before? Julian Edelman was rarely tough. Frank Tom Ocean, almost 2 years with you, LK. What do you think of the 49ers show on AMC? I'm looking forward to tomorrow's 2 episodes. It's on tonight. It's on right now, I believe, right? I'm taping it. I hit record. I think it's on right now. Let me double check. Yeah, I haven't seen it because obviously I haven't seen it. I didn't go to the world premiere. I did see Al Sacco say that he thought it was going to be awesome. It's on AMC and AMC Plus, The Rise of the 49ers. Let's see. Yeah, so the first episode 1, we built this city, The Rise of the 49ers, okay? And it looks like, and then it says episode 2 is on just right now. So now it's, and then it's episode 1 again at 11, and then episode 2 at 12. So yeah, it plays back to back. I mean, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. First of all, Tom Brady's a cool guy. Second of all, Tom Brady's a Niner fan. He's the narrator. This is, footage many people have never seen. It's great. It's great. And thank you, Frank, for being a member for 23 months, 2 years almost as a member of the Krug Show family. Thank you, Tom Ocean, for being here. All right, we got this one from Matthew Short. Do you think Eddie would keep Kyle and John if he was in charge? I think Eddie would definitely keep Kyle. He would kick John upstairs into a more of a role like, he's part of the organization, but he's not the final decision maker. And I think Eddie D would hire another personnel evaluator. They've missed too many picks. You can't miss that many times in the first round. You don't get forever, okay? You don't get forever. I mean, I really believe this. I mean, yes, Kyle's loyal to John. John's loyal to Kyle. And I think they're both competent. But I really believe Kyle Shanahan, as a head coach, is good enough to have won a Super Bowl by now, but he hasn't had a good enough team. And that's really bottom line about it, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Everybody else has got these stats about, oh, Kyle this, Kyle that, and Kyle gags, all this stuff. I think Kyle's a great coach who hasn't had enough talent to win. And they, and he's a big part of it as well. They've traded up. They traded up for a lot of these bad offensive players. They traded up for C.J. Beathard. They traded up for Dante Pettis. They traded up for Jalen Hurd. A lot of their trade ups have been disasters. They traded up for Joe Williams, I believe. I mean, it's like anytime Kyle gets impulsive about a certain player that he wants, it's like John's there to trade up for him, but it hasn't worked. So I think Kyle probably should just coach. I think John's a great face of the franchise, and they should go find their John Schneider and dominate the draft and win championships. That's how I feel about it. Yamcha, laughing my ass off. Great impression.
You like that? You think that's a good Trent Baalke?
I went up to Trent Baalke. I was standing next to John Lund, and it was in training camp, and we're getting ready to do an interview. And I'm like, Trent, you guys gonna get anybody at linebacker? I mean, they had nothing. They had Gerald Hodges, and he looks me in the eye, and he goes, Larry, you think but I'll tell you, I like our linebackers, all right. And I'm like, I think I said whatever, all right, or whatever. It's like, dude. I mean, just a fool. I mean, just an absolute fool. You have Gerald Hodges, and you're telling me you like your linebackers. You have Navarro Bowman coming off of a worst knee injury of all time, and you have Gerald Hodges. and I'm saying your linebackers are not great, and instead of being like, you could be right.
I like our linebackers.
Yeah, I bet you liked working here in San Francisco as well until your ass got fired because you didn't know linebackers. All right, there you go. Probably shouldn't get so pissed. Jeff, 49ers. KC is better than Boston, better separator, and Yak. Well, there's no question he's better separator. Niners need some Yak. Niners have no Yak at all to speak of. Brock Purdy with no Yak is not going to be able to get it done. You're going to have some yards after the catch. Callie F. Tom, what do you think about bringing Scott McCloughan back into the organization? Is he still drinking? Yeah, I don't know his situation. I know that alcoholism can be a tough thing. I do know that he's a very good evaluator, and he would be worth at least hearing his thoughts. But I'd have to know what's kind of physical shape he's in and what he's doing and how connected he is and how much he watches. And but they need somebody. They need somebody who doesn't know who everybody likes. Somebody who's just going to come in and give them their honest opinion. Somebody who's not connected to see what happens after a while. Everybody just sucks up to the power teat. It had that happen with that like that for the Raiders, where it's like, I was a buddy of mine scouted for the Raiders, and he said Al Davis, was in one of his later years, was looking around the room, and he said to one of his head scouts, hey, what do you think of this player? And the guy was so afraid that he was going to get fired for saying the wrong thing that he looked Al Davis in the eye and he said, Al, I want what you want. So what happens is these are great jobs. And after a while, people, they want to keep these jobs. And so if that means you got to tell John Lynch that he's right, then you're going to tell John Lynch that he's right. If you sense that Jed wants Trey Lance, then guess what? You're probably going to say, hey, I think we ought to go for Trey Lance. What they need is somebody in there who just is independent and doesn't care and is not trying to keep his job, but just wants to win. That level of passion. Go get great players. It's okay to involve the coach as long as the coach has got an eye for it. Bill Walsh fell in love with Charles Haley and supposedly introduced Charles Haley at one of their draft meetings and said, this is Charles Haley draft room. We are going to get familiar with him. We are going to draft him. You need that level of conviction if you're going to be a champion. Bill had it. You need that level of personnel conviction. But you also need to hit. You need to be right. And if you're convicted, you can have all the conviction in the world. But if your conviction is that Bruce Ellington is going to be great, or that, Jalen Hurd is going to be great, or that, Joe Williams is going to be awesome, or that CJ Beathard is going to be the future, then you're going to be doing something else. That's the way it works. Silent. Shanahan treats rookie offensive players like they're special ed. Need to stay heavy on D for day 1 and day 2. Draft O. Projects day 3. Sign and trade for impact vets on O. The two free agents that I really like offense, or if let's say 2 or 3 or 4. Let's just say you're doing the free agent thing on offense. Tight end, Kyle Pitts. Tight end, Isaiah Likely. Those would be really good options for the Niners. Running back, David Montgomery. Go get another running back and make Juice more of a scat back receiving threat. Get your ball carrier between the tackles. The kid from Detroit would be fantastic. Nick Allegretti, upgrade the middle. Replacement for Burford or Brendel or both. Eventually, you got to replace those guys. Nick Allegretti would be a great call. Romeo Dobbs, Wan'Dale Robinson, but I like Romeo Dobbs even a little bit more. Receiver, fits in right away. Rookie receivers struggle. I'd be looking at those guys. Those are the guys I'm looking at in free agency. Montgomery, especially. Montgomery would make the Niners so much better. They need to have CMC in a different role. He really struggled this year. Was it him? Was it the O-line? Well, either one. How about let's upgrade both? Go get a power back that you can use at CMC as your throw it to him out of the backfield back. They need another back, and they need a better line. And Allegretti would be a great 49er ad. He really would be. He almost came here a couple of years ago. He's smart. He's tough. He can play guard. He can play center. He'd give them more pop. We got this one. Matthew. Larry, who is your all-time favorite 49er player? I mean, how could I not go with Joe? But, I'll go Dwight Clark, man. I mean, Dwight Clark is my guy. I love Dwight. I mean, he's one of my favorites. I mean, just sweetheart of a guy, great dude, fun guy to golf with, great stories. Dated, Miss Universe, and we had that kind of Southern charm about him, and just a dude, just a straight dude. Loved DC. I mean, and then got to know him. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, Dwight Clark. All right. And on that note, we're going to bolt for the door. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to our good friends at Sleeper as well. We should tell you, Sleeper, 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. So it's a one-stop shop. Links in the description. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Make sure you use the promo code Larry, Larry, and Sleeper will take care of you. And then, of course, thanks to our good friends at Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Habbas Law, proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Omar Habbas, Tarek Habbas, all the people at Habbas Law. My dad was an attorney. My brother is a judge. My sister's an attorney. Having the right attorney means everything. So they're great. When Habbas Law goes up against the big insurance companies, the ones that stall and deny and lie and hope that you're going to give up, they just don't blink. They grind them down. They expose their weaknesses, and they hit with strategy and pressure and relentless preparation. And, Habbas Law, nothing catches them off guard. If you've been injured and you want to win, simple as that, there's only one call to make, and that's HabbasLaw.com, 1-800-INJURED, HabbasLaw.com on the web. Habbas Law, they will fight to make it right. So thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, Radio Row is going to be fantastic. We want you here with us throughout the week. We're going to have lots of content leading into Super Bowl 60. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon'